Welcome to the Creative Rant with Caleb Morgan.
Well, that's the line.
And
and Richard Johnson. And this is Jacob Abercrombie.
Hey, folks.
Woo!
He's a project manager at Full Sail, and he's also a freelance artist.
Yeah. And he's completely hidden behind his microphone. It's
You said it was good. Oh, I was sitting up earlier.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. No, you're good, man.
We'll do things. How's this thing work?
Right as we were starting this, we were talking about how difficult it is to say what your job title is.
Apparently he's audio
Sorry.
guy today.
Well, you said I was hidden.
No, you're
Here,
good.
Trying to
you
be
can
nice.
take it
Like you're
there.
always.
That's
dude.
good. That's good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
I keep leaning backwards.
No, you're good.
Is there a thing on if you pop
No,
the thing
no,
out
I'm
on
doing
the
that on
chair?
purpose. It's comfortable.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Cool.
Um,
Well, now that we got that all figured out.
You built this pretty chair for me today, so I'm breaking it in.
okay. So, right as we were starting this, we were trying to figure out what our job titles are. Job titles are tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you get the project manager one like given to you. Like I still don't know what to tell people because I have to make up my own.
Right.
And it's like, what do I do? Oh, I'm a creative director, yet I also do sales.
Lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Audio.
Audio.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I think also if it's like your own business, it's different. You're everything. You know, but when you go and work for different companies, it's always different anyway because they hire you for one thing, and then they want you doing 10 other things.
Yeah.
But you meet a
So-
project manager let's say in a bar, and the guy sitting next to you at the bar, hey, I'm a project manager. He works for a construction company. Kind of makes sense. You're managing a project. But
Yeah.
a project manager in production.
Well, explain
I'm
what you do.
also-
Explain what you do.
So my full-time job, I work at Full Sail, and we have a live production venue. So I manage the productions in the venue, but I also, if students don't know how to do a job, I teach them how to do that job. So I'm teaching camera, audio, lighting, anything to go with video, whatever it is, also producing and project management. That ends freelance world in the art department as creative director for a magazine, doing all the layouts and figuring out how page layouts work. And then you've got some set design and some building and some construction with fabrication when you get into the TV and the film world and building props or whatever else anybody wants. You said it earlier, jack of all trades. Some would say jack of all trades, master of none, but you figure out this like weird life, and it's hard to explain to people what you actually do because you do so many different things. You go to take a photo of somebody or a picture of somebody, and you're not only setting up your lights, checking the camera, doing the stuff, you're looking at the background, you're fixing their hair, you're doing all of the aspects of it. And I take pictures for a living. No, you do a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's tough to explain to people that have never done it before what we do.
how
How we do it, because you have to know every aspect of it to make it right.
How many project managers do you like? Are there multiple ones of you, or is it just you?
Just me.
Huh. Doesn't seem like project manager to me seems. I don't know. It seems like you could. There's like usually more than one.
Yeah, it's an odd title. Sorry, bosses, if you're watching.
Yeah.
We'll have a talk soon.
Yeah.
But it's an odd title, because I also do all the call sheets. If you know what call sheets are, where you're putting the people in positions and deciding who's doing what job.
Yeah. Well, that's.
So I'm the hiring guy. I'm also making sure the project works. I'm also teaching the people how to do the project, and then at the end of it, I'm cleaning up and
I
doing
feel
it
like
and still
that's
getting
the
dirty.
real.
It's
That's
a-
the meat of like I'm a project manager, like putting together call sheets. That's like project manager 101 stuff. Like bringing people together on a project, making sure they're all there on time.
Yeah, to me,
Like-
that's still the project manager's the one making sure the project happens, but you're not building a crew. I mean, you've got the crew, the building, the gear, making sure it all works. You've got this whole thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a wild thing. And then you get into the creative side of it, where it's, hey, we want to do this today. Hey, Jacob, can you go build this? Well, yeah, sure. let's figure it out. We never say no. I think that's what's wrong with all of us in this industry, because especially when it sounds fun, you just jump in and go.
Yeah.
Well, part of it too is, and I found back when I was starting out as a creative, I would go in. I call them unicorn positions, where they want like a unicorn. So it would be like, we want a creative person who can do graphic design, edit video, code websites, build websites, PHP, Photoshop, all this stuff, right?
Right.
And I think they do that because they think that, one, that's how it is. They think all those things are, one person. But they also do that to try to save money. One of the jobs that I had when I was hired, they said they wanted a video person, just a video person. That's all we want is a motion graphics person. This company didn't sell motion graphics videos. So I knew right off the bat when I interviewed with them, I said, listen, I'll take this position, but my goal is gonna be to try to get into your marketing department.
Right.
And that, well, we don't need that. And I'm like, well, you don't need the other position, because when things get tight, which they always do with businesses, I'm a luxury item, so I'm going to get cut. So you, as a creative, you try to take on those multiple hats to make yourself more profitable, or more sellable. But there's a point where you're like, I want to specialize. I want to do this. I want to be I'm tired of being a jack of all trades, master of none. I want to be a master of certain things.
But for the young guys, especially, when they can bounce around and do all that stuff before they make a name, to be that all around unicorn. And I can run audio today. And we were at the Orange Studio place. What was that?
Oh yeah,
and that's what the ladies were talking about. And they're like, we're bouncing around, we're doing all these jobs to get known, and then it's finally, okay, I'm putting my foot down. Now I want to be that person that does the one thing. But when you get into the project management side or the marketing side and the bigger side, you got to watch out for the budget. And I'm going to hire the guy that can do a couple things.
Yeah.
And I don't want to.
And that's
I'm not going to bash on the union, but like, you hire a union carpenter, that's all they're going to do, and a union electrician, and a blah, blah, blah. You have all these things. That's great. It's all they're allowed to do. Yeah. That's wonderful that it's like that. But sometimes you want a guy. I've had guys before, like, that's below my pay rate. I can't do that. Like, below your pay rate? Like, why? You're not going to do the work because that pays less than what you're doing right now? You have none of this work, so you can go home, or you can do this. Like, you pick.
Yeah,
I'll pay you your high rate. I'm going to pay you your high rate.
I'll go home, please.
You want $35 an hour to do this job that pays $12?
Yeah.
Here's your option.
And
so it's nice to have a guy that can do some of
primarily
this
live
stuff.
events. It's a live event style show, so it's
is that but that's I think it's different. It's different when it's by the hour versus salary. I think.
Yeah, but a lot of the live event stuff, the theme and film and all that, like day rates, if you're at a certain point, you're not by the hour. You break it down into an hourly rate because you know how to do math. But
yeah,
I've got 4 hours of work if you want to work, but I can give you a whole day if you'll do a couple extra things that aren't part of this one specific thing.
Yeah,
let me not bring in another guy.
If somebody's hired me to do something and they say, you're going to be doing video, and then they're like, okay, can you, I'm already paid, like you said, I'm already paid to be there. I don't really care what they ask me to do, but if I don't know how to do it, I'll just be like, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
And then
you have to be able to do that, though. A lot of people won't.
But I think the problem comes in when people are working somewhere full time and you get hired, let's say, to do video. And then they're like, you make a couple videos and they're like, okay, well, you know what? Like, now we want you to like take photos for us. And it's like, okay. Even what I don't want to do it. Like the whole reason that I took this job is because I want to do video.
Right.
I don't like taking photos as much. So I don't want to really be spending my time doing it. It's like that's especially with web. Like, hey, we need you to, now that you've made this video, we want you to do all the web marketing for it. Like, you know how to do that, right? You're good with this stuff. And it's like, but I don't want to, it's not my job. But if I wanted to be a web guy, I would be one.
I feel like that's when you start to lose employees. So basically, what that is you're taking advantage of someone's passion to help run your company. When you hire people to run your company, you want them to have as much passion as you have, and treat it like it's their own. You want that initiative, and I think most people are eager and willing to do that, and they take on more jobs than they should, which is good. But when it just keeps giving and giving, I think that's only going to last so long before someone's like,
oh, they burn out.
Well, because then they're being judged by stuff they weren't hired to do in the first place.
There's a lot of people, though, that you guys are both very talented. People say I'm talented. I still don't.
Thank you.
I don't know. But there's certain people that you can be a lighting guy one day and an audio guy the next and a video guy the next and then an art guy. There's not a lot of people that can handle all of it and bounce around.
Well, how much do you?
If I need to go direct a show, I can direct a show. If I need to TD a show, I'll TD a show.
How
I
much-
love
That's
shading and
different,
color
though.
correcting,
Yeah.
but what I'm known in my freelance world in life is as an art director and a fabricator and a builder and a designer. I'm not known as a video guy in the freelance world. I can
think
do all
we're-
that stuff, but I don't know why
Yeah.
I know it. I don't know why it clicks. Audio doesn't click for anything. I can't hear it. I can
Yeah.
see everything else. And the way you see through art, it's like everything's through a camera anyway, so it's composition and whatever, so you can see that aspect of it. But not everybody has that wiring. You said, oh, you want to be a video guy. I didn't think you were taking that to motion graphics. I'm like, so he's a director, or he's a TD, he's a camera guy, what is it? And you wanted to be a video editor.
Yeah.
I was on a whole different spectrum of what
Well, and
video
I think
is.
there's two different things here too. It's a little bit different with live productions or even production in general, because on production or sets, the goal as a team is to get the production done to the best of
The
its
show
ability.
must
The show must go
show must
on,
go on.
right?
happen.
So there is chances on show to be that hero and jump in. Now, if you were to watch any inspirational TED talk by any CEO or read a book by any CEO, they all say, I started at the bottom, I was a janitor, I made my way up. It makes you a better leader to know how those things work.
Correct.
But there is, and as an amateur or a greenhorn or whatever you want to call them, there is an appeal to getting your feet wet in multiple things, right? But as you grow, you're like, you know what? I don't want to do things okay. I want to do one thing good or two things really good and specialize in it. And believe me, like being a photographer, it's like people are like, when I go to like a photographer convention, I'm a photographer, and then they're like, oh, well, who does your graphic design? It's like, oh, I do that. Oh, well, who does your video? Well,
Right.
I do that too.
Right.
But the thing is like, I truly want to be just a photographer. My design and my passion for all the other stuff I do has helped me with my photography.
But it's that creative wiring that you have.
Correct.
You-
It's also the entrepreneurial mentality.
For me, it all
You can
comes,
step in and do all of it.
Yeah.
For me, it all comes down to payment. If you hire somebody and they're like, yeah, I'll do your web marketing. Yeah, I'll make video. Yeah, I'll do your photos. And so that person is doing your photos, your video, and he's marketing all of it online. He should be getting paid for 3 jobs. That's more like, I mean, seriously, you don't have to pay.
Right.
Like, because what if you
or
only
a
knew?
third of all those jobs. How about that?
How about that? How about I
Take
mean,
all
that
of those
person,
positions,
he's
divide
taking,
the amount in a third, and give that person. They'll still be making more than what you would hire them on that one job.
Yeah.
There's too much. There's just too much scope creep when it comes to like hiring creatives. And again, go to any LinkedIn job posting for a creative, and there's so much that they just don't understand
we
about
just
your
laugh.
position.
Graphics, video, photos, web. It's all like, this is all like, we want you to do the job of 4 departments.
But it's also
But for like 50 grand.
but also like
It's like
and a majority of what you do is teaching. Well, I mean, like you used to.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
an educator.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're doing it anymore. You're an educator.
Yeah.
At heart, you like teaching people.
I wanted to go to school to be a special ed teacher.
Correct.
So, like, I've always wanted to teach. I get more passion out of that than I do making anything.
Yeah.
I'd rather somebody else succeed and like, hey, I taught that guy how to do that. That's great. That's what
But
I
see-
enjoy, and that's the passion side of it, where you have these very creative people that can do all this
Yeah.
creative stuff, but for some, the passion's not there. The boredom set in. Yeah, I can take all your photos. I can do all that stuff. Here you go. Not excited about it. Every
Yeah.
time I pick up a project and get into it, like I'm all in. Like I've got the coolest job in the world. Let's have some fun.
But see-
let's fuck around.
But what happens
let's make
when
something.
What happens when that passion? What happens when someone, and this has happened to you? I know it has, and you've
When
never
it goes
told
away?
me that this has happened to you. But I'm going to explain a situation where this has happened to you. You've taken on a job because they got you. They hooked you with the bait of the passion that you're passionate about, and then they said, "Oh man, we really need this other thing done. If we only had someone to do that," and then you did that, and then
And then you do the next thing.
and then it's not, you're like, oh, stressing out because it's not what you do well, but you're doing it because you're that guy. And
Oh,
then
well.
and then it either it fails, no, it doesn't fail because you make it work, or it's not as good as it could be or up to your standards. But and that's the thing, is like that's happened to you. That's
And then they
happened,
blame you.
and then they blame you or you're judged.
But and I call it the Jewish guilt. But this happened to me 2 weeks ago. Like I went out thinking I was going to set up some lights and help with a video team for a like a concert on a boat, and I ended up being the audio guy mixing a band. I said earlier, I hate audio.
Yeah.
I'm calling people asking questions and asking for help on how I fix things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous the whole time, freaking out because it's live recording a band and mixing
Mm-hmm.
and you're capturing all of it. And I'm stressed out. And I thought it could have been better, but the producers and everybody it says it's great.
Yeah.
So,
See, but that's a
But
situation
would-
where
but
it
it's
works
still,
out. But what
it
if they
worked out
didn't?
like
What if they were like, wow,
You screwed up?
Man, I thought you were really going to do this better.
I fortunately,
yeah.
But for a lot of people, it doesn't.
a lot of
turn
people it doesn't,
out like
but
that.
fortunately, yeah, but live production, you get one shot.
That's it.
One shot. That's all you get. That's
Mm-hmm.
all you ever get.
Your entire
If you've
career
got-
could be on the line.
We've
over
got
one
four.
shot.
We've got 4 cameras going right now. If one's out of focus, but you're looking at the thing, if something drifts and you're not paying attention to it, or all 4 go out, you have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We did a show a few weeks ago. Something happened. Power Art. We had an issue. We lost audio and we lost lighting during a live production that was being streamed. You don't get it back. You can't save it. I've done live shows where the first 30 minutes there's no audio because we had checked something and then something got changed and we never went back to check it because you assume it was still right from the night before, and it's gone.
Well, that's like us
And
when
so
we
you
photograph those
and you
events and film
right
them.
and you yes, you have those failures. You learn from the mistake and you go forward. Everyone gets that, and you feel it in your heart and in your gut, and it makes you sick because you screwed something up for somebody else. But it's at the end of the day, and this is going to sound bad, no babies died. Like nobody's dead.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
life goes on. But if you let it eat at you and beat you up, and I've
Yeah.
been there before, letting it beat me up, like, man, I could have done that so much better. And it's like I'm looking at that prop, they're shooting this film, they're doing this thing. Oh my God, I missed that tag. Like there's a tag hanging on that. I should have caught that, and
So-
it's eating me alive. But
So do you
They're
think?
still going.
Do you think all right? So and that's what being a human's about, is growing and learning, failing, picking yourself up, doing it again. I feel that people will. I feel like if you fail at a job that you were hired to do, you're going to take that lesson a lot harder. You're going to learn a lot better. If you fail at something that wasn't your job in the first place, you're going to be like,
It just makes you better.
Meh.
but
well,
are
it
you-
wasn't my job to begin with. So hold on, I want to get back to something real quick because I think there's a different mindset here, and I promised you before this that I wasn't going to bash on Full Sail, and I'm going to keep that promise because I think. So Full Sail, for those who don't know, like you live under
you've been
a rock. You live under a rock.
You
You
should.
don't know what
If
Full
you're
Sail
watching
is.
this, you should know what Full Sail
So
is.
Full Sail is a technical college down in Winter Park, Florida, that it does film production, recording arts. It started as a recording arts studio. They their logo is a plane because their
Video game.
CEO likes planes.
No, it's like
Video game
No.
development.
no, we're not
They
going
do
there.
game development. And
They
now
put an ad in Rolling Stone. They'd show up to your house and teach you how to make music in your bathroom.
That's what they-
1979, Dayton, Ohio.
That's okay. So here's the thing: is that school is a really good overview school. It's an amazing overview school. So
The jack of all trades.
a jack of all trades school. It is the school that gets you the foundation that you need to go in. And if they sold it that way, that would be amazing. But so what happens? This is what I tell people when they're like, "Should I go to Full Sail?" I say, "Yes. If you want to learn how to do everything to make a movie or whatever your craft is, right?" But I say to them, you have to have a plan outside of that. And the plan needs to be like when you sit down and watch a movie credits, every single person at the end of that movie is a specialist.
Well, also,
They
and that,
specialize.
but that's also the
So-
same with any college.
yeah,
Correct.
No, totally,
100%.
totally.
So, yes, you're going to learn a little bit about everything as you go through it. And you need to know every position because it just helps you become
yeah,
what you are. But let's say I started Full Sail today. My dream was to be a director, and that's all I ever knew and all I ever wanted to do was to direct. How do I know how to direct a camera guy if I don't know how to use a camera or how to talk to an
100%.
art department? So you learn all these different things along the way. Maybe you're going to fall in love with something else, but learning all this stuff is going to help you understand the other departments where, again, I hate audio, but I respect the hell out of it. And I understand it. It doesn't work for me. But you do get to a point, and again, I don't know what happened with you guys or how it is, but I know when I was teaching and everything that went, you got every position and you learned every position, but then you could apply and could get into, I'm going to direct my final film.
correct.
I'm going to just focus on camera and I'm going to do these certain things. Same thing goes in the live production side of it. If they want to be the lighting designer for the show, that's what they're going to do. So you go through the programs and at the end you do have a chance to specialize just in that. And now with the master's degree, you have that geared in focus
Yeah.
for some of the degrees where you can do that.
Well, and
For the
that's
hands-on
why.
stuff, but you can't do this industry without the respect and the knowledge of what the
Correct.
guy next to you's got to do.
So I work a lot with the live events industry, doing graphics and marketing for a company here in Orlando called Evolve. And they, whenever we do podcasts, they say, all the guys that we bring in, they say, you should work in a warehouse. You should start in a
100%.
warehouse. You should see what it's like packing this stuff. You should see what it's like to take this stuff in there. And I get all that.
Nah.
You should learn how to load a truck.
No, I
Why?
get.
You should learn how to use
I
a ratchet
totally
strap.
get that. I guess what I'm trying to say is like when you get to a point where you're no longer new, you're not a rookie anymore. There comes a
The
point.
old guy.
Yeah, they're the
Thanks.
old guy.
I'm the old guy in the room. Thanks.
All of a sudden, you there's something about looking at your creativity or your craft and saying, this is what I do. It's not the hat makers anymore. It's not the cobblers. It's not the carpenters. Like, we're photographers. And that used to be, I'm a photographer or a graphic designer or whatever the hell I am, because I'm a chameleon when it comes to creativity. And that's why I stopped. This whole thing started from what label you are, right?
Yeah.
I stopped calling myself a photographer or a graphic designer, and I just say, I'm a creative. I'm a creative.
Yeah.
And when someone says, what are your specialties? I start breaking down, well, I can do this and I can do this. Yeah, I'm maybe 50% at that or whatever. But that's kind of the idea. And I think from an education standpoint, it's important to get new people to come in and
Right.
say, here's everything.
But it's the guy in the bar. I like to start conversations with random people. It's fun, especially when they're drunk.
Weird, but
And-
fun. No, I do it all the time.
But you want to talk, and it's fun to see or hear stories, and it helps the creative mind process. And we got to stay engaged, or we're going to get bored. So you walk up to her, what do you do for a living? And they tell a story, and then they ask you, what do you do for a living? It's like,
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how to explain it, and you go off on this long rant, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And without knowing the industry, without being part of it, I don't know how to explain. Let's go back. I don't know what my title is. It's tough because it's
Well, you're a creative.
I'm a creative. Sure, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's what you do. You're a creative.
So I
You're-
should change
you're
my
good-
business card to say a creative.
Just creative.
No, I like a creative.
Sure, or be creative.
Be creative.
Jacob Abercrombie, be creative.
Be creative. Creative B.
I think it even like you, Caleb, like you have, I mean, you're like, I don't know what I do. I don't know what my title is. You know what you do.
Well, I just say I'm
You
a
just
creative
do-
director.
I'm a creative director, but that's not true either because
Well,
you're
what do you-
grabbing lights, you're throwing them up higher, you're dimming them, you're throwing socks over lights to bounce them or diffuse them.
Yeah.
So it's not just creative director. I don't even think most people know what that is outside of our industry anyway.
Yeah.
And each industry, it changes. A creative director for a live production more than likely isn't there for the production, right? They're setting up all
Probably
the
not.
creative before.
Right.
A creative director for a photo shoot, they're there the whole time. Or a creative director for an or an ad agency, they have the final say. So each industry,
Or you're not
it's
you're not there, and everything's coming to you. You got your little. Where'd your little tip
the little
glass go?
yeah, that thing. But that's what I'm saying. Each industry, even though they have that creative overlap, we all have different titles for what those things are.
like it.
So
All of our titles should be creative.
just creative. Well, I mean, in
With the-
especially with
that's
live
the
events,
broad.
there's that like military style hierarchy, chain of command thing.
Yeah.
So the only thing you're missing is the badges.
I have a sheriff's badge with my name on it. I should start
I
wearing
like,
that at work.
I
I,
like
should wear that at
creative
work again.
director. Because I used to say I'm a project manager, but I found that people don't think that you do anything creative when you do that, and so I started saying creative director because it is like directing. So it kind of put me in the position where I'm doing half project management stuff, just kind of bringing like the team together to get something done.
Right.
And on the other side, I'm also like, no, that's too green or whatever. And it puts me in the position where I don't have to be doing all those jobs
Which is kind of
myself.
as my project manager title. Like it's working with the lighting guy to make sure the lights work right.
Yeah.
Checking all the camera angles, making sure the focuses are good. I've got my multi-image processor, my MIPS set up to where I can see all the camera views, and I'm watching what the director's queuing up and the preview and the preset.
Like I thought
or-
that you were going to say you were a creative director.
It's not my title. It's my title for like a part-time job for a freelance gig, but as my full-time gig, it's a project manager.
It's what I would have labeled you as a creative director.
I
If
make
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I
like
were to
a
write
live
a description
event
for this
creative
video, I'd be
director.
like Jacob Abercrombie, creative director.
Yeah.
You
Or
know.
like live creative director.
Yeah,
Something like that, because that's what you do.
yeah.
Creatively, it flows. That's kind of your job.
yeah, yeah. Let's go build something. Let's look at a camera and
Yeah.
let's just make everything look pretty. And you talk the teaching. It's watching my dad grow up. Like you get more joy out of watching other people have fun and learn,
Yeah.
or just enjoy a show. I don't need to watch a show. I'd rather look and see everybody's face in the audience. And if you enjoyed it, I did something right. That's what I don't care if the show works, but if you enjoyed whatever happened on stage, I'm doing my job.
Did your dad do creative stuff? Or?
My dad was a manager of art and design at Universal Studios, but also like floral companies and set decorating from, catering companies. I grew up in the industry. Going to work with my dad was going to Universal, decorating for Halloween, for Christmas stuff. We'd go
cool.
out to the West Coast and decorate casinos for Christmas, Easter, New Year's. We did the florals for Parade of Homes. Like,
That's cool.
I'd go home after school and I'd have to make floral arrangements. And then I'd go back into school the next day covered in glitter, and they're like, "What's wrong with you, kid?"
Glitter's the worst.
It never comes off, but we were just a creative family, and that's what we did. We made centerpieces and decorated for weddings.
I
And
can't think of anything less creative than a title.
Yeah.
Like, inherently, it's just an uncreative. You're a creative director. Like, it's just not a creative thing. But to me, titles are just blah.
They're tough.
And they're blah. Here's the problem with
and
titles.
everybody wants their title to either have the word director in it or manager because they want to feel good about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying A, creative, or B, creative, whatever it is. Like,
well,
how do you, without upsetting the hierarchy of all the other people around you, because, well, you're not a director. No.
Yeah, but if you eliminate the
If you want to
titles,
put director of creative or creative director, like, there's so many. Well, you're not directing anything.
Yeah.
I feel like titles in business, though, the byproduct of that are silos. So, like most companies, the biggest challenge they have is cross-department collaboration and departments
Or communication.
Or communication. And the reason is because it's, well, the head of that department doesn't want to talk to the head of that department. And if you eliminate titles...
Or they don't. Or not even that they don't want to. It's
Yeah.
that they don't know how.
And I'm not saying this utopian like business model where it's like, oh, get rid of all titles and there's no one higher than you. But if you eliminate titles at a lower level, everyone has the authority to make the same decisions. You need someone to eliminate stalemates. You need
Right.
someone that's going to step in and go, no, this is how it is. Because when you have two co-workers that are at the same level, then who
Like-
has the final say?
Like within the,
But
yeah.
but the titles themselves,
It's weird. Like the department, we have a director of the department. Then we have a technical director of the department, making sure like all the gear and all the tech side of the engineering and that stuff works. And then we've got some coordinators and stuff like that. But then
Yeah.
there's thrown in as a project manager in the mix of all these other positions. And it's, all right, you're coordinating, you're making the gear, you're making all the events as the director and approving the stuff. They're all wonderful people. I don't know how else to talk about you guys. I love you all. But you've got all these different positions. We all know how to do the jobs. We've just all been fallen into these titles and in this hierarchy of where
Yeah.
people want to see it. I don't know.
I feel like it
preach.
appeases someone, just usually not the creatives.
Well, a lot of
It
times,
does-
too, job titles can help. Because there's an idiot there.
Yeah.
And if he's like,
But-
you know what I think would be a good idea? Somebody needs to be like, listen, I'm the director. No.
But I preach a lot to the
Yeah.
kids coming into the industry that we're teaching and learning this stuff. Like, I can't do my job without the housekeeping staff, without the catering staff, without the person that's paying the power bill.
Can't you just do that, Jacob?
No.
Like, why not?
But you can't be a creative director or I don't know what your title is.
Where?
He's a
Yeah.
creative.
Anywhere.
As a creative, you can't do your job without all these other people to do it. You've got
I'm a creative. It's like
so we lose the
yeah.
payroll person. Nobody's coming to work. The guy doesn't pay the power today. All right, we're not having a show. The lighting
Yep.
designer doesn't show up. We're not having a show. The audio guy screws up, doesn't do anything. Like, we all depend on each other so much. So
Yeah.
at a certain point, we are all the way across the board and equal. But
Yeah.
from a stagehand, PA to the
oh, this doesn't matter.
Okay.
I
Cool.
wouldn't worry about that. That little red wire sticking
Just
out.
saw
it's
something not
a-
plugged in.
It's just,
on either
just
side.
hanging out here. I'm sure someone's like, "Hey, you got a red wire there."
But we
Are
all
you- are
we
you
all
recording?
depend.
Are you recording?
I was just like, huh.
Yeah,
We got to start all this over.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, wait, let's start again.
That was
on
a good
this.
rehearsal, guys.
Yeah, that was
we
really
did great.
So back to the title thing. Who was in charge of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
job-
we depend on each other so much within all of our roles. The guy mopping the floor. Like, I'm not afraid to get dirty and mop a floor and sweep and clean it up because I want the project and the production to look good if everyone's working.
Yeah.
As the project manager, as the creative director, I'll get down and scrub and make everything work and fix the curtains, whatever it takes, because you want a good product.
But the problem is,
But
is
it's-
like when you get in trouble for the floor not being clean.
Well, it depends on what your job
No,
is.
but like as your job. Like, Jacob, why isn't the floor clean? What? I don't know. Where's the guy that cleans the floor? Well, I mean, you usually do it.
Well, it's once a favor, twice a job.
So you just decided
Oh, it's
not.
also-
So you just
it's
decided
also,
not to do it this time?
No good
Okay.
deed goes unpunished.
No good deed goes unpunished.
That's a good one
But it's-
too.
I just see it happen to so many people. It's happened to me.
So here's the
like,
thing: is
and
I
I
could
hate
see,
that.
I could
That's my
see
least
Jacob.
favorite thing.
I could see Jacob struggling with this concept. Like, I
Because
totally
he's
get
nice.
it. because he's a nice guy. And no,
I've been. Not a lot of people call me a nice guy.
No, Jacob. Like,
somebody
listen.
came into work yesterday. They're like, "Oh my god, I got through a whole day without Jacob yelling at me."
Well, no, listen. Like, you're a team player. You get the job done. You want the job done right. That's me.
We do cool shit.
No,
like, why not have fun?
No, I get that. I get that. So here's the thing. I'm the same way. Before Caleb got involved with Spectacle, I had people that owed me money, and he would be like, he'd go through the invoices, and he'd go, "This person, who is that?"
Not even
And I was
invoices. Like complete, like, hey, look what I made for this guy. And it'd be like some awesome poster. And I'm just like, that's awesome.
How much did they pay you?
How much are they paying you? And he'd be like, well, they wanted to negotiate that later.
Oh, no,
and it's like,
don't do that.
It's like, what? Did you already give that to him? Yeah. How long ago? Oh, like 2 months ago. Like, the final straw was this musician. Rich was like, man, look, this girl's using my stuff. And he shows me this picture of a full-on live event. Dude, I'm talking like a massive projection. Like, it was massive. It looked like a legit concert with all of Rich's graphics being projected all behind. It's like, dude, there was thousands of people there. And I was like, how much did they pay you for that? And he goes, oh, well,
gave me a sandwich.
They gave me credit.
Nothing.
Exposure.
They hadn't paid him anything. And there was
Yeah.
just a laundry list of these people. And finally, and it was funny because, like, with them especially, so he showed me that because that day they had sent him an email saying that they wanted like 5 posters out of the stuff he'd already made. Oh, yeah, we like that. Can you make these into 5 posters? And I was like, stop. Everything is going to stop. And I emailed him. And I was like, yeah, no problem. 5 posters coming right up if you pay us $500.
So this should be like a blog for you guys, and like the cover photo of this thing is just you holding a sign saying "We'll work for exposure."
Like
you're standing on the side of the road, like instead of "We'll work for food."
I mean,
It's
it was like,
but it's a big part of the industry, and a lot of people think that they have to do it.
But that's the downfall of being an artist so passionate about what you do.
It's because you do
Is
one
that-
thing and it's like, hey, Jacob,
So,
can you make
yes.
5 posters out of this?
So, yeah, and it's
That's why the starving artist exists, because of the artist themselves.
right,
Letting
but also
smoke
the
creep.
starving artists. They're always the guy sitting there like, "Look at me." Here
Yeah,
I am."
yeah.
Gotta value yourself at a certain point, and it's the yes, I can give you a beautiful piece of art within 10 minutes. It took me 20 years to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
So why not? You can pay $1,000 for this, and I'll get it done in 10 minutes, or go hire somebody else for $500.
Picasso did that.
Picasso
Well,
said
that's
that.
what I heard. I don't know
But
if
there's
that's true.
there's
but
years of
the
knowledge.
story goes that he was in a park painting, and a lady walked up and asked for her portrait painted, and he did it in like classic Picasso
like a minute.
garbage. And,
I like that you say. I'm not disagreeing with you.
it's just that point.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so he does it real fast, and he goes, "That'll be like $15,000." And she says, "But it only took you 15 seconds." And he
Right.
goes, "No, ma'am, it took me my whole life." I don't know if that's true. I'm sure it's not on his Wikipedia page, but
Or it is.
that's it. The point still stands.
But there's a reason
is that
that
it takes you all those years to learn it.
Yeah.
the 3 of us could sit down in a creative meeting where somebody's wanting to do a magazine layout or a photo shoot or anything it is, and you have a piece of paper and a pencil in front of you, and you could probably storyboard the whole thing while they're discussing it and talking about it and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And have this wonderful sketch and be like, "Here you go, this is what I'm going to do for you, and I'm going to charge you 10 grand."
Mm-hmm.
But it only took you 30 seconds to get the idea. And like, why is this going to cost so much money? It's like, because I've trained my brain to see this way and to hear what you're saying. There's a value on it.
But there is
It's the same
and
thing
then
with
that
the
value-
mechanic.
But here's the thing, and I know because I've done this. There's clients out there that are probably going to watch this and be like, "Yeah, I've seen him create in front of me." That you have to throttle that, because that sets an expectation that this is easy for you, and there is an inherent value in something being difficult, right? Even though I'm providing something that they can't do themselves, it still runs into that, because it honestly, it really does. And
And I agree with and
It's
I'm not going to admit that there's projects I've done where it's taken me a day, but I've held on to it for 5 or 6 so I can charge more money.
Well, because
like it took a
because
while.
we live in a world.
You don't want to show up 20 minutes later and say I'm done.
Well, no, because we live in a world where for so long it's been punch a card, punch a card. How much time did that take you? Now, I worked in an agency, and it's all about time. Well, how much time did you spend on this? How much time did you spend on that? The problem with doing that with creatives is you're punishing them for being too efficient. If it's time doesn't matter. What matters is quality and output.
Can you turn the creative off? Can you
No.
turn your brain off? Can you turn your brain off?
To what extent?
Like you've got a
Yes.
project coming up and all of a sudden something just pops into your head and you don't know why and you're starting to draw it and jot it all down and it's just
Yeah.
like you can turn it off?
I
Or
don't know.
it just kind of comes in and you just can't stop.
No,
I don't know. I've never tried to turn it
You
off.
can't.
Okay.
You can't.
So I don't
Right.
know.
You can't.
I-
I've seen you do it. When you come up with an idea, what he's saying is when you have an idea, it gets into your brain like a bug, and you're like, I gotta do this.
Do
Even if you
something.
even if
You
you don't
talk
have a
about
project,
it.
like I've got sheets and notebooks that, that'd be a fun logo to make, and I just start drawing logos for no reason. And I don't know
Yeah.
why. It's just I have to get it out, and I'll draw stuff like just with my finger on a table like this, and I can see what I'm drawing on the table. Nobody else can see it. I look like I'm fidgeting, but I'm getting that creative thought out, and we're wired different.
But you can't. Yeah. But what I'm saying is from a business standpoint, as a business owner, when you have creatives working for you, working on an hourly basis is counter to being creative, because if it takes me 15 hours, it shouldn't matter as long as the product is to the expectation of the project or the client, right? Now, deadlines are different. Like, I get the deadlines and the everything.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is if you say, I'm gonna quote you 16 hours for a project and I do it in 8, I'm still gonna charge you 16 because the value is still there. It shouldn't be...
Correct.
You get what I'm saying?
And even if but in the same thing, if it takes me 24 to do it, I can't charge you
Correct.
more than 16.
Well, that comes down
So
to
that's
being a better
like-
time manager.
Right.
But what I'm
But
saying
sometimes
is
you
if
misbid the project at the same time. So sometimes they win, sometimes you lose
correct.
on the
But
or
it's
you
not
win and
like
you lose.
it's not like other things like a meter. It's not like, oh, I'm paying for time. I'm paying for this. I think with creativity, you have to look at it as a paying for a product that's coming out. Like when you go and buy a couch, it could be a masterpiece. You're paying for the value of that couch. They're not nickel and diming you. Well, it took the carpenter 10 hours for this time and the upholstery guy this time. They charge you for the product. And with creativity, if I were to do something in front of you in 5 minutes, 9 out of 10 clients would go, "Puh, what are we paying all this money for?"
Right.
So you
Even
so
if
as
like
a
a machine,
creative,
if a machine can make a couch in 10 minutes, people will gladly pay, $5,000 for it, $2,000, whatever. Let's say 5.
Yeah.
$5,000 for the couch. But if you do something in 10 minutes, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not worth. They'll be like, what?
only
What?
But how you said to throttle that back that 5 minutes so you don't do it in front of people. That's where I'm like turning the creative off. Sometimes
it's impossible.
I have to get it out of my mind. I'm sorry that you're standing there. I'm gonna hide it like I'm protecting my food from
Can you
somebody
turn
else.
around real fast? I would like.
I need to draw this.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
look.
See, and then you also, talking about this, kind of leads into the weird realm of pricing your ideas. Because, like, we do that. We do that. Somebody's like, hey, give me we need an ad. And then you come up with, like, a really good idea for an ad. It's like, I have a really good idea for a video that I'll make you. And then you just have to gauge how much that idea is worth.
I'd watch my dad write treatments and do designs and put all that stuff together and put a budget and present it to people and say, this is what I want to do for you. This is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to cost. Here's your, and you have to write it out and give it to them so they can give other.
Yep.
Now they have a copy of it or an email or whatever it is. You just gave your whole idea away.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're really expensive. I'm just going to take your idea to somebody else and make it happen.
Yeah.
There's a trust aspect, but it used to be you could get hired just by word of mouth. I didn't have to show you what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I've done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Now everybody with this digital world wants full renders and 3D models of everything that
All
you're
spec
doing.
work.
And
Spec
spec work.
Yeah.
And give me all the spec work and then tell me what it's going to cost. Well, it just took
Spec
me a
work
week.
is horrible, by the way. Let's just do a full stop and say, don't do spec work.
It took me a
Spec
week
work
to
is
design
destroying
this.
people's lives. It really does. I've seen it happen. I've created spec work.
Describe what that is.
So spec work is like a client they go around and they say they go to different agencies or different creatives and they say, let's see what you can do. We'll pick the best one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, someone agreed to that at some point and it just caught on like herpes. And
Wait, are they going to be paying for your time?
not if they don't
these?
pick yours.
Oh, I thought that they were
No.
already going to choose you.
No.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
No, it's
That's-
like,
that's
well,
stupid
hey,
then.
hey, Caleb, you do spec.
Yeah.
Here's our idea. Tell us what your best idea is. And then Jacob, you tell us what your best idea is. And Rich is going to tell us what his best idea is. And then whoever has the best idea
Right.
is going to win. And
Mhm.
we'll pay that person. You're working for free.
Yeah.
You're working for free. And the problem is there's people out there that say yes to that. And it's devaluing what we do as an
Yeah.
industry.
And
Because the work is done.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to do a half-assed spec.
Yeah.
You're going to do an ad.
right.
Or you're going to put in as much time.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's an industry killer. It's devaluing what we do
It's
on all levels.
if you want me to design you a desk or some furniture, well, give me 10 grand. Your desk it'll have some curved shapes to it. It'll have an aluminum top. It'll have some places for some monitors, a couple LED walls in it. It's going to cost you 10 grand. Can you draw that for me real quick so I can see what it looks
I'm
like?
not a visual guy.
Yeah, like
I'm not visual.
I don't understand what you're saying. I don't like. I'm reading it, but it doesn't work. Like, give me some 3D renderings of that so I can see it.
Yeah.
What's it gonna look like with somebody sitting behind it?
Yeah.
Add the person in behind it. What's it gonna look like if you? What if you just tweak this little side real? Yeah, I don't like
what
it.
happens if we put these pillows
I just
there?
like, and now you're
it's-
working
then,
for
like,
free and you're doing
you're
all
done.
that. So,
For somebody who's not creative.
but right,
Like-
you learn through the years of not getting paid and of getting screwed on the back end for that stuff to you bury money somewhere in a project.
Well, and
It's-
when you're starting, it's
and
terrifying.
you have to stick to your guns. Like, okay, I know this is like they're only going to spend 10 grand. I need to be under if I want to get paid for my front end design time to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Value yourself and figure out a way, especially as being a business owner, because you are your own business anyway. So you should value yourself and figure out a way to bury those costs.
There's no one to blame for this stuff that happens in any industry except for the industry themselves. Because at some point they decided that these people just don't make this up. What happens is they've gotten away with it. And they've done it over and over
Well,
again.
and
And
it's-
someone
they don't
does
know.
it for them. Well, and that's
like
the thing.
non-creative people are just show me creative things. They don't know what that means.
Yeah.
It's
Someone at some point was like, let me draw it out for you and show you. And then they go, well, why don't we do this with every project
Yeah,
that we
exactly.
do? So what I'm saying is that anything that happens in any industry.
I was just going to say creatives in that sense have brought that upon themselves as well.
Correct.
Because they'll offer that up all the time. How about
That's
I
what I
just
mean.
make it and you can see if you like it.
When you hear someone complain something about their industry, it's because their industry as a whole has transformed that to their clients to think that.
Yeah.
So if your clients are coming to you with this stuff, it's because that's what they're used to getting. They don't know. And it's all about expectation. I mean, creativity is all about managing expectations. I mean, if you're going to be successful at it, you need to manage those expectations. You can't use certain words because they may think that word means something different. We had an
Right.
experience where we accidentally used the word funny, and we were or fun,
Yeah.
and it was really like, they got the script and they were like, well, this isn't funny, and we're like, well, what do you mean it's not funny? And we're actually going to have them on the podcast next week, so it's going to be a good opportunity to talk to them because it was a great experience where it was like, I can pitch a video idea to you right now, and in my head it's made. I can visualize it. I
already
can
know what
see
it
it.
is.
I already know what it is, which is also a downfall because then there's a lot of disappointment in the world when reality sets in. But my clients can't. And I have to remember that as a creative, that they can't visualize that.
Right.
So I have to do as much as I can to get their trust.
But it's also
So-
your job as not only to protect yourself, but being a good creative is to convince that person of what they need, not what they
Yeah.
want.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I've been handed stuff before. It's like, Jacob, can you like figure out something and go bedazzle this? Like, I don't think that's the right word. I'll go take care of it.
Well, it's just learning how to say
I'll
no.
be back in a little while and it'll be right, but it won't be bedazzle.
Or
Like, you don't want bedazzled.
well,
I'll
and when
take
you
care of it.
bedazzle it, they're like, "What the hell is this?"
Right.
Or,
And
Right,
you're
it's
like, "Oh, you didn't really mean bedazzled."
You want me to
Yeah.
do what you asked, or you want me to do what you really
I had
need right
I had a
now?
client do that to me once. He was like, "I want more texture," and I was like, "I don't know what that means."
Rock
It
faces.
was, dude, I don't remember what it was.
it's the logo.
It was a logo, right?
One more texture on the logo.
I want more texture. And then they were like, I was like, what do you like make it look like it's, like when the light casts, and I was like, a shadow?
Yeah, they
You
wanted
remember
it. They
that?
wanted it to look like metal, like textured metal.
And I was like, oh, a shadow.
Yeah, and like
Yeah, a shadow, Rich. And I was like, you said texture. Whatever.
Yeah.
And that's you run into that all the time. I get
It's-
that. I get that all. Like, there's no way to avoid that. They don't understand the terms. If it was up to every client, you'd be making Comic Sans and Papyrus logos.
a lot of it comes down. A lot of it comes
I did.
down.
I made
to
a trophy
being,
with Comic Sans on purpose.
Like a lot of
just
it
to
comes
piss
down
everybody off.
to being able to say no. No. Hey, Jacob, can you go bedazzle this? No. Either, no, I won't, because I know what that'll look like. It won't look good. I will do this to it because that will make it look good. Or it doesn't need anything. It's fine how it is. Hang it up.
Right. But you have to. That's where your job is to tell them what they need.
And sometimes that's nothing. It's
Some
done.
Correct. Sometimes it is.
A lot of times.
There's
I
a
mean-
guy I work with and I'll stress out and I'll want everything perfect and I'm still working. He's like, Jacob, it's good enough. It's perfect. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop right now. Like, because I'll go for days,
Mm-hmm.
like just to get it just right. And he's like, nope, it's good.
Yeah, but once
We're
it's
good. We're
just
moving on.
right, a lot of times in what we do, it'll be just right. We've spent the days, spent the time agonizing, and then it's just right. And then they're like, can you make this sepia? I saw a Western photo online and I really liked it. Turn it sepia. And it's like, no.
That's the fun part about live production because
Like-
now they're going live and they don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
Yeah, this is more on the fabrication
We're not
side.
going back.
This is more on the creating,
I-
like you've created something.
I
Yeah.
call it
Than live
picking
production.
curtains with clients.
Yeah.
We're picking curtains. There's things there's certain things you shouldn't tell your client that they can choose.
So,
Like
Yep.
and fonts is probably one of them.
yeah.
What you should do is you should send out, like, what we do is we send out a questionnaire and we say, show us some logos you like, show us some logos you don't like, show us some colors you like, and then we what we
Right.
do is from there it's so high level that we're like, okay, we've noticed you like sans serif fonts. We don't give them a list of fonts and go pick your best font because
Right.
it's gonna be the worst.
Right.
Another thing too is, like, when you present options to a client, don't present one that you really don't want to be the option, because that one will be the option.
Yeah.
They will pick that one
So,
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
do you guys remember your film classes
Mhm.
and like everybody fighting about wall colors and like the director wants it a certain color?
No one
and then,
thought about
then
that
the-
with me because I was the art
well,
director,
okay.
and I said no.
So,
My art
I,
director said no, so I snuck into Full Sail at night and painted the set the day before filming.
that guy. So I'd watch these.
And it was like a big deal.
Oh my god! You're the reason they locked the doors down. Yeah. So I'd watch all these students for hours. The DP, because I'm a DP, I'm the director, I'm the blah blah. It's got to be this color, and everybody's like, they're fighting for hours and they're not getting anything done. So me being the asshole, you guys called me a nice guy, being the asshole, I'd walk in with a can of chroma key green paint. I'm like, just paint the whole thing green. You guys can key it out in post. And they're students, so they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And they sit and they think about it, and they're like, oh my God, we can paint this whole, like, you guys are fighting about baseboard right now. We're just going to paint it green. we'll just fix it in post. It'll be good. Your edit will look one way. Your edit will look the way you want.
Unbelievable.
So you come in and just ruin their whole movie, huh?
I don't have actually let them paint it, but they look at me like, and they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it's better than fighting for 2 hours. We could have been done and gone home, and you guys are fighting over what the fucking
Let
trim
the video
color's going
guys
to be.
fix it and After Effects.
Yeah, like
They'll
it's
just
easy.
motion
We'll
track
take care of it. And they're like, we can do that? No, you can't do that. Now just pick a goddamn color and let's move on.
Yeah.
Who
It's
cares?
like, it's okay.
And it doesn't matter. You're getting hung up on details that don't matter.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. I get it.
But
We've
you're
all
gonna
been there.
as a creative, you're all gonna fight and you're all
Yeah.
want to have a certain way, but you got to
there's
bow
reasons
out.
why things are like. When I went to Full Sail, there's a guy in my class, awesome guy, Ron West, and when we did a tour, when you took me around, I mentioned him to the set guy. He's still there.
Yeah,
Todd
Sadowski.
Todd. So Ron got in trouble because he was the world's fastest roofer. Or
Yeah, I
Florida's
remember this
faster.
story.
He was like an international champion or something of
Yeah.
roofing. And Ron, if you're seeing this, like, correct me, but he's fast as hell with nails. Literally puts them in his fist and like flicks them out and just hammers them. It's amazing. He just wouldn't accept the fact that they told him no nails. We use screws, right?
Yeah, you screw things together.
So he just went through and just got it all done, and they're like, stop! Because at Full Sail, they recycle whatever they can.
It's not even the recycling part. It's not a house. You're tearing it apart when you're done.
Exactly. You just back the screw out.
Back
and
the
it's
screw out.
done.
You split the seam and move on.
And this guy was
You
just
can't-
like, this is how I do it. Why aren't we
Yeah.
doing it this way? These screws.
We're not going back through with sawzalls and tearing the whole thing apart.
My hands don't touch screw guns.
No, thank you to that. Like,
But he was skilled
There's
at
no
it.
trigger on my hammer.
Yeah. And that's a craft, but there's reasons.
doesn't necessarily apply.
Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just, but that,
I mean, and I remember, things that I did back then, like, repainting the stuff the night before we filmed and all this stuff. It's like, I got over that.
What was the name of that project?
I don't remember, dude. It was about a tattoo artist that would, like, tattoo people and then kill them and cut it off them. It's like a horror.
What year was
sounds
this?
exactly like a student film.
Yeah.
What year?
2005? 2005. Mm-hmm.
You found my posters, right?
I did.
Help Wanted.
Yeah. They've taken them all down.
Yeah.
2000, that end of 2000, that's when I started. That was my hiatus. 05, 06, I was gone.
No, it was, I don't
That'd been
remember
fun.
when, but so, I mean, I would do that kind of things and I was like, ugh, ugh. And then after, I mean, like at the tail end of that, I met Rich while I was at Full Sail.
Same attitude too.
And yeah.
You?
This matters.
Yeah.
And then now he looks back at it and he's like, man,
I don't even care. Like,
it didn't matter.
it was really like with a website because I was like, Rich was making a website for me. And I was like, it has to do this, it has to do this, it has to do this. And he's like, nobody even cares. Why? Or how about this? How about you just stop, put this up, and go with it and start doing business and just quit crying about it. And it was like, okay. Like what? I mean, I didn't really have an alternative option at the time.
Yeah.
And then like you put it up, nothing happens, nobody cares. And then I put up things that I think are perfect. Yes, I have perfected it. I have micromanaged this. I have applied my neurotic mind to it. Here it is, world. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about it either way. So it's like, just get it done.
I made a Marshall amp for a project, and in my mind, in getting into the knobs and making the plate for it, because
Does
it
it
was
go
larger.
to 11?
It does.
Good.
And
Like a fake
and
one.
it was a lectern. Like I could make it a real one now. I think you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It looks good.
And then I'm designing the plate for it. I was like, I'm gonna make this thing go up to 11. Like it's gonna happen. And I'd say 99% of the people that look at it don't notice it. but that 1%, and they're like, oh my God, look at that. It's like,
Well, that's different.
But it's
Yeah.
it's the that matters point. It's somebody's gonna watch
Yeah.
whatever mattered for him and be like, yes.
No, but it's
There's
not
one,
that.
There's
It's-
a 1% that
There's
it
a
matters
difference.
to.
There's a difference in what you guys are talking about because that's true. The
Yes.
details people love, and Caleb paints little Warcraft.
Oh, yeah.
Warhammer.
My Warhammers, like
They're all over the place.
Warcraft.
like Emily calls it, my wife.
Your little Warhammers.
Are you painting your Warhammers today?
So this dude will paint little Warhammers and details that are insane.
Yeah.
Right? And those matter. That's different than what he's talking about.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is like the stalling or delaying or not doing something because it's not within the scope of what you can do.
Well, it's not like let's say
Like-
let's say a font. Let's say there's like a word, and the word is like blue, and it's like that's not the exact blue that I wanted. I wish for it to be a hue darker.
But they don't have a value.
But there's no like
Okay, so
when it gets down
well,
to it.
that's where it's the non-creative trying
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's I'm in as the art director and I'm doing something and somebody comes in and they
Just changing.
we're
like,
good now.
Yeah.
And
Let's just
half
move
the
that one
time
little
you
bit.
just change it back anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, oh, that wasn't good. And I just like I don't know, something like clicked, and I haven't cared since.
Well,
But what it's like
But it also
like,
comes down to this though, like with that experience thing. So people will come in, and this happens to me all the time. Well, what if you try this? And it's like, well, I did try that 5 hours ago when I've been sitting on this document, and when I tried it, it looked like garbage. And then it's like, oh, okay. Well, what about this? Well, I did that last time, my last project, and it backfired because people thought this, this, and this. And I find myself as a creative, and maybe people disagree with me. I find myself justifying to people who don't know more than I have to, than I should, right?
I've created things that I thought were garbage, but the client loved them. I was like,
Yeah.
but I want to do this better. They're like, oh my God, it's perfect. Or you do something that you think is better, and they still see it a different way, and they want it back to whatever it was.
See, and that,
But
yeah,
that's
and
what they're paying for, and you have to understand. Like,
Correct.
again, they see it different than us.
But that also comes down, like I don't. 90% of the time, I'm like, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it.
Well, it's
I'm not making garbage. Don't pay me.
Yeah,
no, it's like
he's
no.
it,
Sometimes,
like,
dude,
acting
we've
like a
done
hard
that.
ass.
That's not
But
true.
here's the thing.
That's not true. There's a lot of. I mean,
So
dude,
if somebody
we had-
came to you today and said, "I'll give you $1 million for an ad, but I want it all done in Comic Sans,"
Well, that's
No,
the
but
problem.
that's
is
the
they
thing.
don't
They
give
don't
you
give me
$1
a
million.
million.
okay,
they give
I'll
me like
you-
garbage to make garbage, and it's like no. It's not even worth my time to do it. I can't use it as a
You just
demo.
made this beautiful ad. It looks great. I'm still going to pay you the $5,000, but I want all of the font to be in Comic Sans.
No, you can hire someone else to.
I wouldn't do it.
Really?
No,
Wouldn't do it.
Wow.
No,
Absolutely wouldn't do it.
You
I would
still
tell
you
them to go
wouldn't give
somewhere
them
else.
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
I
After
would
you
give them
put
the
all
number.
the work, and you'd say no.
But why
I would
do all the
say-
work and then ruin it?
But that's what the client wants.
So
Sometimes that's. I mean,
I'm
that's,
not there, but like that's the nice thing about not.
It's also not
technically
why
being
they
their
hired me.
employee. Yeah,
I
They
understand.
hired me to be an expert. They hired
Yeah.
me to provide them something, and I'm not going to provide them. Now, here's the thing: I'm not going
I'll
to
do it to
I'm
a
not going to
point.
pick a battle between Arial and Open Sans.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Okay, fine. If you want to get that picky, I'll make you feel like you had a choice.
Right.
But if they're like, dude, use Papyrus or use Comic Sans, I promise you, Jacob, there will be refunds given.
yeah.
I will apologize profusely, but I will not do it.
So-
And
yeah.
it sounds like I'm an asshole, but I have standards as a professional. I have standards, and people need to understand that. Oh, okay. Here's an example. I had a client once that I built a website for. She said, I want a giant picture. And then I want this paragraph, right? Okay, built it. Well, her computer was at like some low resolution
Yeah.
where the text was below the fold. And below the fold in our industry is when you have to scroll down to see the text underneath. So she says, on my computer, I can't see it. I want that fixed. And I said, well, you have two options. Fix your computer's resolution to match what the common person's
Yeah.
viewing it at,
Right.
or we just bring the image up just a little bit, and that'll bring up the text. No, I want full picture with the text below it, right? Okay, well then just change your resolution. No, I don't want people to have to change their resolution when they go to my website. And I said, that's not happening because most people won't have to do that, right? Argued with us to the point, because I couldn't do what she wanted.
Yeah.
Argued with us to the point where she fired us. Fired us. You're fired. Goes to another web designer. Same argument, fires that guy. Goes to a third web designer. Same argument, writes the last two web designers an apology letter because she finally realizes that what she was asking for wasn't possible,
Right.
and wasn't part of.
But that's part of like you've got to learn how to talk and explain and.
Correct, and
It's
that's why
tough.
I was calling BS
But
on what
even-
Caleb
okay,
was
but
saying,
no-
because he doesn't just say no. He says, no, here's why.
Why?
There's a reason.
Right.
Okay, but
There's
yes,
a reason I'm going to
It's
say
not-
no.
Yeah,
to
it's
you.
not just like no.
I just say no.
No, I'm out.
But
I'm
it is no. But I do keep saying
No
no.
bedazzling.
I didn't mean that. I just no. I will keep saying no to that.
But
with
you have to
an
say why.
explanation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give them
Okay,
an
you didn't say
explanation.
the.
But then if they say,
No, he didn't.
Well,
he
hang
just
on.
goes, I'll just say no.
Well, okay, but just to prove that I'm not making this up, a company gave us a script recently, and they're like, "This is this. We're gonna pay you to film or to make a video on this script." And I was like, "No." I told him, "No, we're not doing it. I won't do it." And I was like, "I'll write them an email right now explaining why
I handled
I'm
the- I
not
handled
doing
the
this."
client.
Yeah, because I'm not doing it. I won't do it
God.
because it's not worth my time. I'd rather go spend my time finding another
Playing video
job
games.
or playing video games, doing
Painting those
anything
little
but that.
warhammers.
Yeah,
Warhammers.
I would rather do anything but do that. It's just a waste of my time. I'm not going to make something. I already know what that script
But-
is. It was garbage, and I didn't want to make it.
Was 20-year-old, 21-year-old Caleb the same way?
Yes,
Probably worse.
Yeah.
Probably
Worse?
way
Yeah.
worse. Yeah.
Like you weren't worried? Like there's a lot of people they'll say yes just because they need the money. And they've
like,
gotta
Which
yeah,
is
like-
the worst thing you can do in creativity.
Exactly.
I understand.
It's the worst thing
Yeah.
you can
Well,
do.
I don't know. It was no. Actually, you're somewhat right. I did a lot of things that I would never do again,
You
or that I
can't-
would not do now
You
for
can't.
no
Right.
money. Like,
I was
yeah,
talking
I would.
to.
I guess that's right. I
So-
take that back.
I went to the PPA Imaging USA in Atlanta this weekend, and I met some photographers. Awesome people, awesome convention. And one guy, I'm talking to him, and I'm like you. I just start talking to people. I go to conventions to meet people and to just like show off my work and get to know people and see what other people are doing. So I was standing by the Sony booth, watching everyone just go crazy over mirrorless cameras and half an hour batteries. So this guy starts. I ask him like, what does he do? Oh, I'm trying to find what I'm trying to do, and he gets into this point where he's like, I just want to make money. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what we all want to do, but what do you want to do? Like, why do you want to do it? Money. When you do things for money as a creative, you're allowing your clients to determine your portfolio and your body of work. You're literally wasting time, and you're not growing as an individual. All you're doing, so people should do that, but then they should get over that and say, okay, I'm going to define my work to you. You hired me for a voice. You hired me for a reason, and I'm going to show you that reason, and I'm going to perpetuate my portfolio and define it to you as a collaboration, not just this like when you do things. When I started photography in 2006, Spectacle has been incorporated since 2006. I would shoot anything that came through that door,
Right.
anything, right? When they came in, they'd say, I have a pile of dog crap in my backyard. I need you to take a nice portrait of it. I would wait for the perfect time for the light to set.
Yeah.
It'd shine over, and I'd light it, and that would be your portrait of a pile of crap. I would do that, right? It sounds ridiculous, but that's what you do when you're eating 10-cent ramen noodles.
Right.
Right? But there's a point where it was like, okay, now all I'm getting is more people who want doo-doo portraits. So how do I fix that? You define your work to clients. Every time that we've taken the step to take photos in a different way, our clients have changed. They've fallen off, right? and like the ones that were holding us back and doing things for free, they fall off. And then we're getting better quality clients. We're getting better higher paying clients that match our style.
Correct.
The problem is when you try to be something to everyone, you wind up being nothing.
And a lot of that comes through
and a lot of that comes through, I shouldn't, and it takes time to get there. But like we've gotten to the point where, and it's even happened recently, where it's like, oh man, yeah, it'd be great. It's a little bit of a slow month. We should take this gig. Every time we do that now, it costs us money.
Yeah.
Even though we may not see it up front, the client doesn't align with our values. They don't align with our vision, and they wind up costing us money. The thing is we're not leaving them out in the cold. There's a million photographers out there. There's a million designers. They're not stuck. They can go find someone. And it's not like a rude thing. It's just, hey, I'm true to my craft.
But you're not.
I'm
not in this industry to make money. I'm in it to make a living.
It helps.
Well, it definitely
and anyone
helps.
Who says that it doesn't is lying. That's not what I'm trying to say. Is that money isn't the reason.
I'm in it to make a living. I need to make a certain amount of money so I can live and I can have my stuff. It's not going to make me rich. I hope it does. It definitely won't. I mean, you can make some money and you can do some stuff, but I didn't go into it and get into it thinking that I was going to make millions of dollars as this guy. I got into it. It became a passion.
What does bother me, and this might sound petty or whatever, but I don't like it when we have it's happened to me where I've given people an idea or made them an idea for some cut rate, cheap nothing, and they do make like $100,000 off of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's like Breaking Bad. Like I sold my potential for 2 months' rent. Like, it's like Venom. I found out recently, I looked up Venom and I'm like, who actually made Venom? And it turns out, like the Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Marvel held a contest for people to make a character. And some kid came up with the whole symbiote Venom thing, the whole story of it. They paid him $200 and said, thanks.
That's the Nike logo.
And turned it into this massive thing. Maybe it was 500. It was 200 or 500. I think it was 200.
Regardless, it wasn't
Nike,
the
not the billion.
The bajillion dollars.
And it's like
Nike logo. She was $100. She's like, this is weird. Yeah, here you go, $100.
And while
they came back to her years later and hooked her up.
Yep.
Yeah,
but they paid $100 for that.
But
logo.
they don't have to.
No, they don't have to.
Shouldn't.
And
they don't
shouldn't have to.
And that person, and do you know what that they?
But that's
also the kid
that's what
who
she
made
signed
Venom.
up for.
I think it was a kid. The person that made Venom also has no right to be like, that's not fair.
Yeah,
it's
not
like,
at all.
nah, you forked over your idea
100%.
for $200.
You sold it,
and there it is.
Yep.
It's like when you look up. You watch those documentaries on board games and like kids' toys from like the 50s, like the Slinky, Candyland, all this operation, all this old school stuff that Mattel
Pictionary
put up. Yeah, right. All these things that these people make, they were all ripped off. The operation guy, he came in and gave that pitch to Mattel, and then he signed something where they gave him like $100 or something, and then they just made it without him.
Yeah,
it was some, and
look
it's
at
like
all your toys around the room.
Yeah, what about them?
What about them?
They're $10-15, and you can turn around and sell them, Mattel and whatever brand. I can't see the brand. DC. They paid $10-15 for all this stuff, and that's what they wanted when they first sold it. But you could turn around. Here's $500. There's $1,000.
Yeah.
And keep going. It's not.
Well, yeah.
It's not your fault that the demand and that it all changed.
Well, and I think you should charge a fair rate for the product you're producing. I mean, I had these kids doing yard work for me once, and I had them come in, and I said, "Hey, here's the work."
Yeah.
They looked at it and they go, $100, and I was like, "Okay,
done."
Knew it was way too cheap. Halfway through the day, the kid stops me and he goes, man, it's really like a $300 gig. And I go, yeah, I was gonna pay you $200 anyway, but I wanted you to think like that you like way undercharged. I was like, it's not my responsibility.
You got to feel that mistake.
I was like,
It's not my job to make you feel it.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you told me the price.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you should value your work a little bit better. You should have looked at this and been like, there's a reason why this dude doesn't want to do this by himself.
Yep.
And that's that. So, I mean, it's
But it goes back to valuing yourself. I work with a guy and I look at his quotes and I was like, yeah, you should like raise that. I had a conversation the other
do you
day.
ever raise them for them?
Sometimes.
I do. I do that too. When I hire freelancers, if I have a budget and I know my budget that I want to stay at, and then they come to me and they say, I'm this. I'm like, the hell it is. How about this? How about you pay me this?
Or I'll let them do it for whatever they say and then give them the rest once they've done it.
It's probably not.
Okay, you're gonna do it for $500. Okay, and then they actually do it for $500. It's like, okay, here's $8.
Yeah.
Like I think they need to learn that. Maybe we're just being enablers.
Well, I tell them. I've told them before. Like,
you're not charging enough.
Just so you know. Like, yeah, you're not charging enough money. Was that really worth it? No. Oh, not worth it at all. Okay, well, here's $800.
But
I've had people do that for me though. I quoted a website once and way undervalued.
It's like $200.
And the guy was like, "Listen, your work's good. I didn't tell the boss that. I told him something else."
I haven't had very many people do this, but I've turned down jobs and offered them to other people, and like the other guy will get the job, and then he'll come back and give me 10% of his check. Those are cool people. It's very rare, very rare.
Yeah.
But I do have people like, "Thanks for the hookup. I wouldn't have had this without you. Here's a couple bucks. Thank you."
That's good.
It's very rare to happen, but it happens. It's very rare for you to hire somebody for $500 and give them a tip into it.
Yeah. I also know that they're doing that because you're not the kind of guy that would expect that.
Yeah.
That's that nice guy thing. You could try to be an asshole all you want, Jacob, but it's not. No one.
I get called an asshole quite a bit.
No one's buying it.
No one's buying it.
There's some people watching this right now. They're like, "Nope, he's an asshole."
Yeah. Like, leave the comments. Tell us what he did. Leave a comment.
It's so there's the Jacob that you get the laughing, let's joke around. I work very hard so I can fuck around and have a good time.
Yeah.
I love my job. I want to have fun. But when it's time to work, like, here it is. We're going to work. We're going to get this shit done.
Yeah.
We're going to be serious for a few minutes. And it's...
Do you know who just want to have fun?
Angry.
Girls.
Girls
just want to have fun.
But you get into that tunnel vision and you get really... Yeah. That's where the asshole and let's get the work done. And then all right, now we're back to playtime. But like I walked away from the industry because of all the assholes. I'm like, you don't have to be an asshole all the time. Let's have some fun.
Which one of the 10?
All of them. Like I worked at a car dealership. I got as far away from entertainment as I could. And I was like, I can get away from this and let's go work at a car dealership.
When did you do this?
1999 to 2002.
But that's also how old are you?
I was 19. I grew up doing this as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I was stage managing and calling shows at 14, 15 years old. I was working in the theme parks at 13, decorating on Clarissa Explains It All, decorating. I had security have to follow me through casinos when I was designing and building stuff because I wasn't old enough to be on the gambling floor.
Yeah.
And I watched all the older guys and like how angry and how hateful everybody was, and they weren't having any fun. I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
That's never gonna end.
Because of scope
no
creep.
way. So, but I take a different. That's why I take a different approach. And you called me an educator, and it's no, guys. It doesn't have to be horrible the whole time. Let's joke and have a good time, but at a certain point, we're gonna work for a little bit, and it's gonna get to a serious moment. And
well, I think it also comes down to one. In my industry as a photographer, we saw the rise and fall of the rock star. I'm a rock star photographer. And you get that in every industry with the directors and the know-it-alls. And there's a point where those people they're dinosaurs. And if they're not willing to... I was having a conversation with the PPA, someone from the PPA, and she was mentioning, that the real problem with the new kids don't want to come in because they're afraid that they're going to have to deal with these dinosaurs that aren't educators, that want to keep trade secrets, And really, the way the PPA works is you have the United States PPA, the national one, and then you have local chapters. And she's like, some local chapters are just choked to death by these dinosaurs that want to throttle information. And that's not. Here's the thing. This is what this is the number one thing that I've told people at the PPA convention. One, we're an image-based business. Even you're an image-based business. Everything we do is about image. Right? Two, no one's your competition. No one's your competition. And what I mean by that is if I take portraits of someone and they go to so-and-so because of price, they weren't my client to begin with. Now I'm a transactional business with them.
Right.
But I'm secure with my work. I'm confident in my
100%.
work. So now I'm an emotional connection to these people, and I'm more than just transactional. So if you're losing clients because of another photographer, that's just because you're doing it
based
wrong.
on price, or
based on price.
price.
Price alone.
Yes.
Work. Like
Well,
that's
and a lot of
different.
times even style.
But there's
If
Like
you're
if you're
losing
losing out to
clients-
style, then they're not your client
Then they're
because
not
they
your
don't want your
client
style.
because they don't want you. I don't get when people are like, "Oh, will you teach me this?" I'll say, "Yeah, I'll teach you everything I know because I'm not afraid of you taking my clients. You won't."
right. But and you're talking about the dinosaurs, and I've worked with a lot of people. It's like, kid, I'm not going to teach you everything because you're my competition, and I'm going to let you struggle because I had to struggle and I didn't have anybody to teach me.
Which is so.
It's the worst thing you can do.
It's the worst.
I-
How is that kid now? That kid is
Right.
your representation of your industry.
Correct. So I go out and I'm like, hey, kids, I'll teach you everything because if I make you better than me, it's just going to challenge me to be better. Or maybe you're going to get better than me and hire me one day.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid.
No.
Like, bring it. Like, challenge
bring
me
it
to be
on,
better.
man.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
I think
Let's go all in. But it's
the only
you guys don't do sports like Kobe Bryant. It's like, bring the challenge. I'm going to be better. He's in the
I
gym.
know
He's
who
getting
Kobe
better.
Bryant is.
You got all these figurines and shit. You got Hulk Hogan on the wall. There you go.
I know who that
Fucking
is.
nerds
I
with
know.
your with
But
your toys. You don't do sports.
But do you guys pay attention to
Wow.
like how hard he worked on his craft to get to where he was, to what it was, and the passion and just the hunger? And it wasn't like, I'm going to do this just so I can be the best. It's like, bring on every challenger and go.
Yeah.
And he also taught everybody else. And like, if they wanted to learn, they did it.
Well, you're not
There's
the
not-
best if you don't compete against the best.
Correct. And
It's that simple.
But you're talking, the dinosaurs don't. There's an insecurity that they think that we're there
Because
to
they're-
steal their job.
because they're
I
junk
hope
dealers.
somebody wants to steal my job
they're
because
gonna
I'm
lose their
gonna try
job
harder.
regardless. It's
Right.
only a matter of time before they lose their job, and good riddance. Honestly, good riddance. It's
But it's also a constant because there's always, in the photography business, there's always going to be junk dealers. That's what I call them. They peddle junk. And those are the people who are really concerned with the trade secrets because anybody can make junk. And so if you're just making garbage products all the time, then yeah, you probably have way more competition because there's a lot of photographers making junk and then you're competing to sell trash. It's like,
Right.
but if you get past that and you actually have a style, not a special colored background, but like if you have a style that somebody can't consistently make like you can, you just don't even think about competition at all.
well, and
But
if they try to copy you, they just become a cheap knockoff.
Exactly.
But it's
And
still,
people
it
see
comes,
right through that.
Yep.
They see right through that.
It
Yep.
comes with the creative side of it. How many people can draw Mickey Mouse or the Simpsons? The Simpsons are one of the simplest things to draw in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can all trace it. We can all copy it. We can all do that. And my kid's the best artist in the world. Look, he drew Bart Simpson or he drew Mickey Mouse, whatever it is. No, it's show me creative and come up with something new.
Something new, yeah.
Like what can you can copy me all day long.
Yep.
Show me something new. What do you got that I can't do?
And that's a good point too, because if I can draw Mickey Mouse,
that
people
doesn't
aren't
make
going to
you a
start
cartoonist.
hiring me
Right.
to make Mickey cartoons. That's a good point. I like that. I like
Yeah.
thinking about it
Like-
that way. Like, yeah. So, he made The Simpsons. Matt
with a G.
Yeah, that I can't ever pronounce his last name. But okay, so that guy makes The Simpsons. Well, I can draw that, and it's like, oh well, Fox isn't beating down my door and leaving him. Even if he,
they all have the exact same face with different hair. Like
even if he taught me how to draw
genius.
it, they're not going to be like, well, this guy's cheaper.
Right.
Well, and
Let's
the funny
get
thing
over there.
is that studios pick up different cartoons. Like there's The Simpsons, Futurama. There's that new one. It's called, what is it? The Enchanted or something?
Yeah,
that fantasy one.
Yeah.
And it's all Simpsons. But the funny thing is that none of those shows are made by anybody but Groening.
Yeah.
Matt Groening. They're all him. Somebody didn't go to the studios and be like, look at this idea I have for this fantasy cartoon. And they looked at it and it looked like The Simpsons.
We know it'll succeed because it's the same style.
Well, nobody said that. Do you know why? Because if somebody had done that, if someone has done it, they looked at it and they're like, I like the premise for the show, but why do these people look like Matt Groening's work?
Yeah.
And they
It's a
wouldn't
cheap
even hire you.
knockoff.
They'd be like, we don't want to knock off something else this
Yeah.
blatantly.
And if we just approach our industries that way,
Yeah.
and that's another thing is like you said before, when you get that creativity in your mind, you just shut it off. Can you just shut it off? Well, no, you can't. So if someone comes to you and says, I want you to teach me, and you go, take a hike, kid. Where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go make it up themselves. Right. They're going to go find someone else who's not as qualified as you are. And they're going to do it wrong.
Right. So that's where Full Sail, the jack of all trades, like I'll teach you all the tech you want to learn in your life.
Yeah.
I don't think true creativity can be taught.
No. I don't know.
I could teach you how to use a switcher. I could teach you how to set up mics. I could teach you how to focus a camera. I can't teach you how to do the creative part of this. I cannot teach you how to come up with this idea.
I think it's bigger than creativity. I think it's initiative. I think creativity I think there's a misunderstanding of creativity.
You can teach somebody why he framed up that camera that way and why he has the creative.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you could teach someone a creative recipe. You could teach someone. So here's the thing. Let me explain real fast. I don't think it's just creativity. I think it's initiative. Caleb has an initiative to take it upon himself to make this look the best. The creativity is a byproduct of initiative.
Correct.
To come up, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't really, and you can't have one without the other, because I think when I have creative moments, it's the problem with putting so much like weight on being creative is that people think it comes out of nowhere. They think there's a bucket of it, and the thing is that it's not.
That's ever.
But
ever full.
And you know what's the best way to be creative? Give them free reign. Free reign is the worst way to be creative. The best way to be creative is to have an end goal with limitations. Think of that scene. Think of the scene from Apollo 13. That's creativity, right?
These dudes need air.
These dudes need air.
These components.
Well, what do you have? A bucket of this. Tell us what you got. That's creativity. That's creativity. The initiative is what you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I totally agree with you.
And I get it. Like,
well, that's how a lot of creativity is born. There's also creativity where it's like, hey, you have unlimited money. Make me something awesome. And they do.
But there's still there's a guideline there, though.
I've done layouts and want people to critique a layout, and they start, I see how you use this rule here, and you did this technique here, and you did that. And I'm like, I didn't even know that those things were existing. I just kind of screwed around and made something that looked neat for me.
Yeah.
And they're like
you
pulling
got
out
a perfect Fibonacci.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, this was just kind of like it just worked. Yeah. And they're spouting out all these rules and regulations that they learn that things should be done a certain way. And I'm like, yeah, I just kind of liked it.
I think the thing is that you don't really have to teach people creativity. I think those people quit. I think literally if you go to
people quit
non-creative
fast. No,
people,
I don't. That's why I think I don't think you can teach it. I think you either have it or you don't.
Yeah,
I don't think.
But I think creativity is also disguised as initiative.
Within
just people showing up, doing the extra mile. there's a seed there for creativity, and if you could foster that initiative and show that, it's it's different. It's not. You're right. You can't tell someone like you can tell them the rules. You can't tell them why they should break them. You get what I mean? Because that's I mean, I don't know which artist said this, but I learned it at Full Sail. So I learned something. I learned something above and beyond wrapping cables properly.
Oh my God.
I did learn a lot at Full Sail, but basically what they said was, if you know the rules. Wait, if you don't know the rules and you break them, it's a mistake. If you know the rules and you break them, that's art, and that is true because it accidentally breaking rules.
Who
It's
told you
noticeable. Might have been Rob Toscani. Might be a
Sounds like
little
a
too
Rob
deep
thing.
for Rob Toscani.
sounds like
there
a
might have
Rob.
been a few F words in there.
Sounds like a
But
rock.
so it and that's the thing but that's true. That's true. I mean, if you know these rules and you break them, but I don't fully disagree with you that you can't teach people to be creative.
Well, it's like people don't like to hear that.
No, not at all.
Well, Jacob. Like,
You learned it from somewhere,
you
but I don't
should-
know where
you
I
know,
learned it. It
you
just kind of
should-
happened.
Technique is
you
different than
know.
creativity.
people
You
don't
can
like
teach technique.
See, I
Yeah.
think it also depends on when you're talking about visuals. I 100% agree. You can teach someone to a point, but it'll be limited in some way. Like they can't think of their own ideas. Maybe they can make those ideas happen, but they can't think of their own.
That's
or
the
they
creative
can't
part.
improve on them.
Right.
Or like, or something
Sometimes-
like that.
yeah.
So they can learn the technical aspect of creativity, but I think that like there's some other things that I don't know. What do you call a musician? Like a concert musician who doesn't have a natural ability to play, yet it's like who was
The
it?
work
Was it
for
Bing
hire
Crosby?
people.
Well, I think it was Bing Crosby that said some musicians are made with hammers and nails and some are born.
Yeah.
And so musicians, I think that you can, with music, I think you can more kind of teach yourself how to get by, at least in a creative
You can
industry.
get by, but you're still. I wouldn't consider you a
But here's the
creative.
thing. Here's the thing.
I don't know.
It's
though.
like
maybe
people
you
judging
do.
your photo, and they're like, "Oh, I could have done that." Well, yeah, I can
Maybe
copy
they-
your photo and make that happen.
Well, maybe they could have if they had just like looked at studied photos so much, and they did it even though it wasn't natural to them. You know what I'm saying? They
But
take
did
like
they
this
have,
unnatural
But did they have
approach
the creative thought to actually do what you did?
Do they need it?
to be
I want
to be
like
seen
this picture,
as creative.
So this picture that I'm looking at right here, like
Yeah.
you guys, I bet every time I look forward, it's there. One of you had a creative thought to do that way, and it looks amazing.
yeah.
But here's the thing.
But I could come in here, I could recreate that and do that. But to come up with the first
Yeah.
idea, that wouldn't have been what I wanted to do.
No, but sometimes that's not what sometimes to be in a creative industry, you don't have to do that.
All you
what
technically have
Caleb's-
to do is make something different.
So, for instance, here's the downfall of being
But
a
what's
creative.
different?
Here's
Exactly.
the downfall.
It's the Rocketeer behind you. I can copy that all day.
Yeah, but here's the
Give me something different.
yes. But people like that have a place. So hear me out. We were talking about this the other day. As creatives and the main voice of this company, that's not a very good business model because you can't duplicate yourself. You can't replicate what you do.
Correct.
But
Correct.
if I can train someone to create the recipe, just that one recipe, that's all you have to do. It's the what are they called? The band members that are not musicians. They're musicians,
Oh, like
but they're fill-in guys. Everyone's
like the
had 'em.
Muscle Shoals guys.
Yeah, everyone's had them. They're just
the Swampers.
fill-in musicians. They can play, but they're not. They don't have that initiative to take it upon themselves to be their own solo artist.
Yeah.
So they're happy just being there.
Cover bands, and they can come up and I can copy somebody, and I
Well,
can get out there
yeah.
and jam and keep a whole crowd happy.
But the
and
thing
I
is
can do dueling pianos in the bar all night long.
But that
and
keeps
be
like
that guy.
what
But
was the guy
can
for
you-
James Brown, right? He had a couple, like they were all not backup people, but they were an integral part. Johnny Cash had them.
The Swampers.
The
At
Swampers.
Muscle Shoals
Yeah.
recording.
But the creative geniuses like James Brown and these other artists knew, I need these guys to succeed, so I need to teach them to play this riff. I don't need them to be creative, because if they are,
right.
they're going to step on my
Right.
toes
Oh, no, I'm not.
and get in my way.
I'm not saying
well,
that
it's
they
like,
don't
are
have
those
a place,
people
but
creative?
Well, at Spectacle, we don't want. We're at the point where we're like, man, every time we've tried to bring a creative person in here, they've left.
And
They've
they're
left
not
because
that
they want to do
creative.
their own thing, and they're not that creative with us. They go and do their own thing.
Yeah.
We want people to come in with initiative, people who want to learn and want to create
I see.
what we tell them to create.
I agree
Like
with that.
to, and to bring it back around.
but it's your creation. You're the
Correct.
creative part.
Like to bring it
Totally.
back around, I agree with you. Like natural creativity cannot be taught, but I think that people can fake being creative enough, and they can get by. It's like, okay, so I can't
But I
remember
think
who
that
said
goes
it.
back to technique.
I can't remember
I
who
could
said
teach you
it.
technique.
Somebody
Yes.
said Bob Dylan isn't creative. Somebody famous, like some chick singer. She said Bob Dylan is the fakest artist, creative artist ever. He rips people's songs off. He caters. He like changes his voice based off someone that he likes who's singing. He's like a chameleon. He's not creative. He's a hack. That might be true, but he's fooled enough people.
Correct.
And so, if let's say that is true about Bob Dylan, you can't teach him to be naturally creative. But people, it's almost like if they're creative enough to be creative, to like become creative, they can get by
that's
in
the
these weird
understanding
ways.
That's where, hey, my kid's so creative. Look at all these things that they just made. That's a misunderstanding of creative.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
That it just becomes a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lack of knowledge and a lack of studying to see like where actually is the creative, like who's doing.
So, hey, real quick, because we got to wrap this up a little bit. But I want to
done
ask
nothing
you,
real quick.
huh?
We
One
nothing
second.
real quick.
1 second. Just
one
more
second. We started 3 hours late.
Yeah,
Jacob, be here at
yeah.
6, at 9:05.
get-
Oh, we're almost ready.
Man, we had to get our hair did.
Yeah, haircut.
Haircuts
Yeah.
for everybody. I didn't get a haircut.
So I want to ask you, what's your number one pet peeve about being a creative?
My number one pet peeve about
The number one thing you don't like about being a creative?
that it's expected.
Creativity is expected
It's expected.
to do, like a light switch. Turn it
It's
on.
Like Jacob will figure this out. Or
Yeah.
He'll
you're
be creative.
like, you're a creative guy. Go do this.
Isn't that a lot of pressure?
Yeah,
Don't you feel like that's
because as much as it clicks all the time, sometimes it's like, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what
Not
to do.
feeling it.
yeah?
But you're the creative guy. Just make it happen. But like,
I get it.
I don't have the bumps yet. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't work. Like, nope, I'm out.
I need the goose pimples.
Yeah. I guess it would be the expectation of always being creative.
Yeah, I could see that. What do you love about it?
Everything's different all the time.
Yeah.
Every single day is something new. I don't sit behind a desk and plug away. Well, part of the project
Sometimes.
management job, I sit behind a desk. My
Yeah.
spreadsheets look very pretty. They're very colorful. But for the most part, like even when you do the repetitive events, there's something new about it all the time. And this whole industry, 1 week you're shooting Kevin Nash, next week you're going to shoot I saw was it Ryan Reynolds pictures downstairs, and I don't know what that's all about. That's the story. You guys got to go into that stuff.
That's not Ryan Reynolds.
Not Ryan Reynolds. It's the other guy. They look alike.
Ryan Gosling.
That's not Ryan Gosling.
Oh my
either.
God, who is that?
That's Brian.
That's
Brian Mason.
What is it?
He's a local actor.
Okay, whatever.
yeah.
I think I got his last name right. I'm so horrible. With
Sorry.
names. His name's Brian.
Brian Mason.
Brian Mason. Yeah.
Beautiful photo, beautiful person.
Everyone thinks
and it
it's
looks
Ryan
great. I'm like,
Gosling.
oh my God, look what you guys
Yeah.
like. How do you pull this off?
but do me a favor.
it's-
Go back to Full Sail and tell him that we photographed Ryan Gosling
And yeah.
and Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Maybe not Kevin Nash, but I'm proud
Hey,
of Kevin
he's Super
Nash.
Shredder.
Super
Come on.
Shredder.
Why is that not a good thing? Like he's still doing
It's not a bad thing.
they just
I
did
just you
Oh,
know.
it's awesome.
they just did a thing and he came
He's
out.
downplaying his love for wrestling.
Oh.
Maybe it's not a big deal to
Maybe
some,
it's not a big
but
deal
it's
to
a big
some.
deal to me.
No, but to say not Kevin Nash, like the NXT stuff and the they're
Yeah.
there all the time.
Yeah.
I was thinking people wouldn't really know who he was, but
I think there's wrestling once
I
a
know.
month on campus. They're
it's
there
not
next
fair
week
to Kevin Nash. But
because he's not
anyway.
part of it. What?
well, because most of
where
the time people don't like what I like, so it's like, oh yeah, never mind. You know. Anyway, so cool, man.
it's different. That's,
Yeah. No, those are. It's a tough question, and I don't tell people before they come on that's what
Yeah,
we're gonna
no.
say,
Yeah.
because I want to see them like, ooh, that hurts the head. It's hard to say that. It's hard to put that into words because it's so much. There's so many reasons why I love being a creative. There's so many reasons why I hate being a creative.
Yeah.
And you can write an entire book on those, but it's definitely fun.
Something about the pressure
Yeah.
and again making other people happy is cool.
And you can't you can't unwind that. Like it's there all the time. So
Yeah.
very cool. Well, Jacob, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
For coming out and wasting an hour and 45 minutes with us.
Hold on. It's 11 o'clock.
This is a long one. This is going
An
to take
hour
3
and
days
40
to upload onto YouTube.
You said an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's been
So anyway, this has been the Creative Rant with Jacob Abercrombie from Full Sail and
Winter
Freelance
Park.
Winter
Artwork.
Park, Florida.
Local bread. Something wrong with the water here.
Cool, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Later.
Later.
Goodbye.